This is a sports catastrophe production. Hey there, Heather, ho there. It's Dec14 welcoming you to another sports catastrophe on this day. And on this day, December the 14th, 1988, the Miami Heat finally win a basketball game. Their first win in history. They started at 0-17, the worst start in history for a team. I believe that's the worst start in a season ever. So anyway, the NBA was full of teams and all that. So in 1989, the NBA decided to add 2 teams. And then 2 years later, and then the next year they would add 2 more teams. So Miami and Charlotte were brought into the league in 1988. Miami basically to get basketball fans in Florida feeling great at having a major league team. I mean, they had a football team, couple football teams. But no baseball, well, at least not until 1993, and no hockey. Again, not until 1993. Till 1992. So basketball fans were happy that a team was going to come to Florida. And Charlotte, because North Carolina is basketball crazy. I mean, you got to look at the triangle: Duke, North Carolina, and North Carolina State within like 45 miles of each other. Also, Wake Forest and in North Carolina, and they thought that pro basketball would take off as well as college basketball. I mean, college basketball brings legendary players. Well, of course, the teams in 1989-90 would be Minnesota and Orlando, bring basketball to the northern states, and Orlando putting another team in Florida. So Miami were set to go. They got Ronnie Cycli in the NBA draft, which was great for them because Ronnie Cycli was a great player for the Syracuse Orangemen. How that? They had an expansion draft. They didn't really get many key players. They got Billy Thompson, Scott Hastings, and John Sunfold. But the rest were not really that great. And yeah, they also got Grant Long in the NBA draft of '88. But the roster didn't really look all that superstar. Like, you got Pat Cummings, Kevin Edwards, Sylvester Gray, Scott Hastings from Arkansas, my boy, Grant Long, Craig Neal, Dave Popson, Ronnie Cycli, John Shasky, Rory Sparrow, John Sunfold, Billy Thompson, and Dwayne Washington. I think that was the Pearl Washington. Yeah, the Pearl. He died recently in Syracuse. Retired as number 31. Miami was put in the Western Conference. What? How dare you put Miami in the Western Conference? The West? Really? They're not even that close. Another case of geographical mistakes, especially in the NFC East in football, keeping the Cardinals in the NFC East even though they moved to Arizona. Miami was not really that great. They were 15-67. So basically, Miami just was a mess and all that. Their first game ever was at home on November 5th, 1988 to the LA Clippers, losing to them by 20 points. Then they would lose subsequently to Dallas. They went to Dallas and lost, then San Antonio. They lost in Houston, Boston, Houston, Golden State, LA, Lakers, Milwaukee, Cleveland, Charlotte, San Antonio, Portland, Sacramento, Denver, Chicago, Utah. So basically they were, not really that good. And then they went to the LA Memorial Sports Arena to face the Clippers and beat them after losing to them on the first day of the season. So they got revenge on them. It would take them 5 games after this win to get their second win, and that was against Utah on home turf. Needless to say, Miami did not have a good month. Their best month technically was March, being 5-11, with a 4-4 home mark. So they finished with 15 wins. But the Heat heated up, if you can coin a phrase. And they did pretty well for themselves. It was terrible. I mean, the NBA putting the Heat in the Midwest division of the Western Conference. This meant that the Heat had some of the longest and farthest road trips in NBA history, as their closest divisional rival was 950 miles away. So, man, that was kind of stupid and all that. But I believe in 1990 they fixed everything by putting Miami in the East. If memory serves me right. I hope so. Yeah, they moved to the Atlantic Division of the Eastern Conference. Miami got a little bit better with only 18 wins, but they steadily moved up, especially in the mid 90s. So what can you say about Miami? They're pretty good and all that. But expansion rules. It's kind of weird how Miami at 0-17 had the worst start in NBA history. And you got like Brooklyn. Brooklyn was aiming for their mark. And then you got expansion teams like the Clippers franchise. Well, that's there in Buffalo. They weren't that bad. Cleveland was like, what, 0-14 or something to start their campaign, 1971. But yeah, it's a weird way that they had their worst start to a season. And it was the Miami Heat of all teams. But they were an expansion team, so you can give them a pass. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond. I do.